Welcome to the first episode of brand new podcast around the South Australian NPL and the state leagues. Today's our big preview podcast. We'll be going through each of the men's leagues and seeing our predictions and how it will go. I'm NPL commentator Seb O'Neill, joined by four faces or voices you might recognize: Alessio Carocci, Marc Talbot, David Grant, and Johnny Keko. How are you boys doing on this fine evening?
I'll go first.
Very
I'm
good.
doing very well. How are you, Seb? Over to
I'm
you,
all right.
Alessio.
I'm all right.
I'm good as well. Another week.
That's it. Another week, we get this one over and we get closer to the season starting.
Johnny, how are your neighbours?
My neighbours are doing well, and it's been good, mate. The TV show's been fantastic, and my neighbours next door are great. And if you didn't know, that's when good neighbours become good friends, by the way.
Thanks, Johnny. So we'll be going through...
Actually, my neighbours are Manchester United fans, so we'll see.
Yeah, they're not,
love
not
going
good
away.
friends then.
So we'll be going through each of the main three leagues in South Australia, starting with State League 2. We'll talk about who we think will get promoted, who we think will get relegated, top finishes, whoever finished bottoms, relegated, all that sort of stuff. So we'll start with State League 2. We'll start right at the bottom of the pyramid. Who do we think will finish bottom of State League 2? Be careful what you say.
I'll take the lead on this one because I think Alessio will like me, but I've got Hills to finish. Unfortunately, like last year in the wooden spoon spot, I think it's going to be between them and Noarlunga. Unfortunately for Noarlunga, but I think those two sides are going to really, really struggle this year. Noarlunga have had a big change, new coach coming in. They've lost a couple of players, but they haven't picked up any big ins, and they're relying on a lot of youth from their reserves. So I just think it's going to be a really, really big transition year for them, and they're really going to struggle. Hills, as I said, I think Alessio could probably back me up there. They struggled last year, and I think they're going to struggle again this year. And Gawler will be down there as well, I think. And I've got Barker, Alessio. I've got them. I told you that I reckon they'll finish outside the bottom three this year. So I reckon that they're going to break into that sort of ninth spot, I reckon.
Don't be nice to him because he plays for him.
I'm not. I'm not at all. But they've also, here's the thing. So they've also picked up Anthony Taylor. So big shout out to Taylor. But wherever he goes, he seems to win things and improve sides. I mean, he won with Sturt. He well played for many years ago. He was at Salisbury last year and they won. So, I'm using that as a bit of a help to Barker, and that they'll actually progress up that table.
Well, this week we can actually confirm as well that we have signed James Clappers as well, ex-NPL goalkeeper, penalty hero a couple of years ago. So that's a big in for us as well. We can finally confirm that. And I think that might be the last of the big name signings, at least, that we've got out. But I had very similar bottom two of Noarlunga and Adelaide Hills, same as Marc there. I had probably Gawler as well, probably contending it down the bottom there as well. But I definitely agree with him as well that Mount Barker would probably contest between that 6th to 9th. I don't think it's too much of a difference if you look at the tables as well, how many points difference there was the last few years in the State League 2 between the teams who didn't make finals but were clear of the bottom two. And I think that's still an improvement for us. Mount Barker had their highest ever points tally last year, so it's getting improvement every year. And now we've got getting big players coming up as well. So I think we can only get better from here. So yeah, I had agreements in the bottom two there with Marc.
I agree with the boys, and as much as I love the Hills Hawks and had a connection with them, I think they're going to struggle this year as well. So I do agree with the boys on that one. But I love the club there, so they're going to do well and going to win the league next year. So, but I think Cove are going to win this year. They got a good team. I think they're going to go up this year. I think I'm happy to say that.
I'll say that I think both the Hills clubs will finish in that bottom two. Sorry, Alessio. Like last year, Mount Barker's troubles, I think, were up at the other end of the park. The scoring, I don't know if that's something they're going to be able to fix this year or not. I think they scored 20 odd goals in their 22 league games, and really that's not enough. If that's something that they can address, then maybe they'll finish a bit higher up the table. But you guys have picked like 4 or 5 teams that you think are going to finish in the bottom two. But I'm just going to pick 2, and it's going to be 2 clubs I've played for in the past. It's going to be Mount Barker United and the Adelaide Hills Hawks. As for the top finish, well, with no form or anything and no guide, and we've just been looking at friendlies, I suppose it's hard to pick. Gosh, I don't know. I really struggle with that one. We haven't picked this one yet, have we? So I can't even copy anyone's ideas yet, can I?
No, nobody said he wants to be brave enough.
I just said Cove, didn't I?
Yeah, Johnny.
you did actually, yeah. Well, that would be a
Picked
big
up quite a few.
turnaround for Cove, wouldn't it? I mean, they finished third bottom last year of that in that table. So to turn that around and become a championship side would be a big turnaround. I don't know, maybe an Adelaide Uni or a Modbury Vista or someone like that. There's my two. How's that?
Vista's a big call.
Yeah, but I just think it's really hard to pick, isn't it, at this time of year? So I'll stick with those two, and I won't give any more information. On to you, Mark. Who's your pick for the top two spots or the championship title spot?
We know my bottom three. Well, I think we'll finish in that sort of bottom three. But you're right regarding the Cove. It'll be a big, massive jump to go from third bottom to winning it. They have signed the likes of Ryan Beach, Matt Canny. So there's two massive improvements at the back already. I mean, they conceded 51 goals last year, so which was not much better than the bottom two sides in Mount Barker and Hills, who both conceded 53. So they've got to tighten up at the back, but they've also picked up. Well, they've got Kitch, Steve Kitch in as coach. So Cove, I actually have Cove finishing second. I've got them jumping all the way up, just not purely from a tactical point of view, but I know the way Kitch coaches, and I know he can get so much out of players just because of the way he manages players. So I've actually got them second at the moment. Eastern, I've got them finishing up. They've had a few changes, but some of the ins have been quite impressive. So I've got them, Cove and Adelaide Uni in the top three. But in the finals as well, I've got Pirates, Vista and Seaford, I think, to probably make those finals. But again, I think with that 6th, 7th and 8th, I think you could probably throw a blanket over them, to be honest, which is the remaining teams like Demons, Pontians. I think you're going to throw a blanket over those that fighting off for that sort of 6th spot, I think.
I think Mount Barker United are actually going to make top 6 this year. There's something about it up there. I think the camaraderie. I'm all about camaraderie. If a team is on fire off the pitch together, they can produce something special. And I think
you just become Alessio's best friend, mate.
Well, they signed a superstar last year in Alessio Karachi, so I think that's just going to boost the team up there. But even with even without Hills Hawks, they can do something out of nothing as well. So I did say they probably finished down the bottom, but that something about their Hills, the people up there are totally different. And as we see in this podcast, David Grant is built different as well. So you can never underestimate him.
Look, I'm a Hills dweller, and I want both those sides to do well. I just don't think it's going to be this season. Just on your point on Eastern United, Mark, I think that's a really good pick as well. I'd sort of forgotten about them because they're obviously a side that weren't in State League 2 last year, but that's a good one. Can I change my picks?
Of course you can. What are you thinking, Alessio?
Well, I don't know how Mark and I are getting the exact same conclusions from all our things, but my top three as well were Cove, Adelaide Union, Eastern, and the other three making finals were Vista, Pirates, and then Mount Barker sneaking in number 6 there. So mix of Johnny and Mark's predictions, but yeah, the top three are definitely going to be Adelaide Uni, Cove, and Eastern. We played Adelaide Uni in preseason so far, and they just look like a comfortable outfit. Big signings this year. They got Peter Mercurio from Croydon Kings, kept a lot of their players as well. Raf Frasina is still there.
And just quickly, they picked up Alfano too.
That's a big signing as well, yeah.
Came through, I think, just over the weekend. I was chatting with Raf, funny enough, yesterday, and he was saying they signed him late. So it's another big in for them.
Yeah, and they were just a comfortable team. Like the way they play as well. They've got a massive coach in Phil Stubbins as well. And the way they play is just unrivaled, I think, in this league. And I think they would be pretty disappointed last year with how I think they went out in the first round of the finals to Gawler. So on penalties. So I think they'll have a better year this year, and I think they could be a smoky for one of the best kits in the league as well after what I've seen on the media day.
Oh, yes. Well, that's what happens when you have Macron and Raf sorting them out, isn't it, really?
But yeah, I think all those three teams have made their most outstanding signings as well this year. Cove with all their signings, Ryan Veach, Mitchell Keynes, couple of State League players as well, Oliver Grant.
They picked up Paulie as well, didn't they?
Yes, I think so, yep. And yeah, just a lot of State League 1, usually like consistent goal scorers. Callum Elms they picked up as well. I think he played for Adelaide Hills Hawks as well.
Did.
I That's
And
what I'm
then,
thinking.
yeah, Eastern as well. They always seem to get enough to get out of that league a few times. They picked up a few Panagalias from Adelaide Uni, Daniel Solari as well from Adelaide Uni, Franz Pietri, I think he was an under-20 Albanian international.
Yep.
He's always been a big figure around the league, playing in ex-MPL players as well. But they're my three. And then, Vista, they were always a strong team last year. I think they might have finished top 4 or maybe
Yeah,
fifth.
they finished 4th last year.
Top 4, and they were, dangerous side. They picked up as well some Modbury players, Cooper Wegner. They've just shored it up at the back. Pirates picked up Kaka Dembele from Seaford, one of their star performers. And they got a young side as well. And then, Matt Barker, I think, could be a smoky, but I think, just like Mark said, could put a blanket over 6th to 9th at least, I think. And there's not much that separates those three teams.
And as you're saying, you've got Seaford, who finished 2nd last year and lost to Strikers in the finals. And I feel they probably overachieved just a little bit last year, but this year they have lost their goal scorer, who was the State League 2 top goal scorer last year. So I think that's going to be a massive loss for them. Obviously, not having, I think, 15, 16 goals that he scored, maybe even more. Having that in that side will obviously, I think that's why I think I've got them mid-table this year.
Well, plenty of different opinions of who's going to finish where. We'll go on to State League 1, which is pretty interesting.
Did we hear your predictions, Seth?
Yeah, we didn't hear your predictions.
Come on.
Seth. Oh, wow. Trying to stay out of it.
We
Wow.
tried
Almost escaped it, yeah.
Well played.
You're writing these down. Are we recording these down so we know who's picked what? So we can review it in 8 months' time, or are we just going to?
Oh, mine are wrong no matter what. I'm always wrong.
Mine were Hills Hawks at the bottom, and Vista and Eastern, the 2 to go up for me.
Who was second
as far as
for you? Were you just picking?
I just picked bottom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, if anything, I'll just say Mount Barker and Alessio. On to State League 1. Again, we'll start with who we think will be relegated from State League 1. Again, another interesting conversation to be had. Who wants to take the reins on this one?
I'll go first then, if that's all right. Yeah. My 2 relegated from State League 1 is Western Strikers and Adelaide Vipers.
Just saying, mine's the exact same. By the way, just hand up.
I've got that too.
I've seen a couple of their outs and also a couple of their preseason results, if you take that into consideration. But especially for Vipers, losing a player like Craig Shearer, who was a consistent goal scorer. They're missing Anthony Vakasidis, who went to Comets. A couple of other players have moved around the leagues as well, but they do have a good culture there. I know they have a young squad as well with Martinez Septo, Jacob Jones, Adam Bahati, a couple of players who've been ex-MPL reserve players at least. And they had a good culture, if you saw at the end of last year. A couple of their games were quite high scoring, quite a few good goals to watch as well. But I just think this year, maybe some of their signings haven't been as big or as prominent as they were last year. And I think they're going to be down there. Western Strikers, a team that came up, I think they're going to be missing some of the goals of their strikers in the past. I'm not sure if Dimas has kept on there or not. But yeah, from their results so far and the squad they've had and not many signings that I've seen, I think they might go back down.
I had the same 2 teams for very similar reasons there, Alessio. So you and I are on the parallel here, aren't we? Vipers and Western Strikers. I mean, Strikers finished 3rd, didn't they, in that State League 2 last year, pipping Seaford in the playoffs from memory. Was it Seaford?
Yep, over 2 legs.
You know, and so you wonder how a team that's finished 3rd in State League 2 is going to hold its own or be better than the worst 2 teams in State League 1. So I've got Western Strikers and Vipers. I'd also written Fulham's name down at one stage, but changed my mind. So Vipers and Western Strikers for me.
To drop? No way.
I saw Alessio's face lit up then when you said Fulham, David.
Yeah. That's why I do it. It's just to get the feedback, just to watch your faces.
Yeah,
well, the faces that the listeners can't see, but
there's
it's
no
funny.
way Robbie will get relegated.
Look, I'll get to Fulham with you, John. I'm with you, Johnny, I think, on that. But funny enough, I've done Vipers and Strikers as well, boys.
Lucky I went first, though.
So it's I've got Strikers bottom and Vipers to finish 11th. I just think both those sides are going to struggle. Salisbury will be happy that I haven't put them to get relegated. So shout out to Salisbury for not thinking you'll get relegated. I think Salisbury have got enough with the signings they've actually made. They've lost Yui, as we spoke about last week, but they've brought in some good players and they've brought in a new goalkeeper from Modbury and Matty Gaston at the helm again. I think they've got enough to stay up.
Yeah, I loved it last year when you predicted them not. I think you said not to make finals and end up winning the league or fifth, was it?
Picked them to take out fifth and obviously make finals, but I didn't pick anything past finals.
Yeah, and you did that pre-season, and then come into season, people will still remembered when they hounded you on socials. It was fantastic.
So
I
said I remember.
Yeah. Well, for me, like I hate this part. This is the worst part, picking the two teams to be relegated, because I love every club.
We've all said the same anyway, so you might as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I'll probably say the same. That's what I was thinking. I love the two clubs, but we know what State League One's like. It's a tough league to get into. It's a tough league to get out. Like, it's a tough league to stay in. Oh, sorry. It's tough. Sorry, I'll say that again. Tough league to get out of to get into the NBL. It's also a tough league to stay in. There's a lot of good teams always in this club, in this league. So I think it will be those two, but it'll be fighting right to the end, because they're not going to want to leave, absolutely. But Western Strikers and new coach ended last year. I don't know. It's going to be hard, but we'll see what happens. I hate saying it, but I think everyone's got the same opinion, but we could be proven wrong.
I'll get to see them this weekend. They're playing against Northern Demons in a preseason friendly, so I'll get to have a look at, because I'll stick around. I'm actually playing in a play game Northern Demons this weekend against Strikers. I was chatting with Gianni just the other day about it, and I'll stick around and have a look at Demons and Vipers and see where they're at. I can let you boys know on the next one.
Yeah, well, I did see the Strikers play against Croydon a few weeks ago, and they did get destroyed, unfortunately, in that occasion. But they're going to struggle. But that's hard to really tell against an NPL team to really how they're at. So this weekend's be a good test to see what they're like. And Vipers not having their home ground as well, playing away from home. I'll speak to the president. They're still waiting to get a St. Clair up to scratch to play their home games there. So we'll see what happens there. Once they get their home ground, they're going to be a team to really fight and probably be mid-table State League One team at that point in the years to come. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think we're all on the same page.
Will that be another Kilburn or?
Well, I think that's up to the actual council. This one here, so they're just waiting for it all. I think we'll see what happens. I'm in the same council region, so I know exactly what it's like.
So all in agreement with the bottom two of State League One. Let's see our promoted teams. Our two promoted teams, one automatic and one through finals. Normally, who do we think? I'll start for once.
Yes, come on.
Go for it.
I will say Playford and West Adelaide. I reckon Playford were a really strong team last year, and as we've seen, North is on the rise, and I think West Adelaide are too good to be in State League One, in my opinion.
Well,
for one of them to win the league as well, then yeah.
Yep.
Hey, for me, it's not food motivated one little bit, but Cobras and Playford. I know they both got the best scran at the clubs, but footy scran. But I think those two are going to be up the top. However, Robbie Saracino is going to build something at that club. He's wants to start with a young squad and build something for the future. But he's a great coach. We all know what he did with Metro Stars over the years, and just watching him as an assistant coach under Travis last year was good to just see a different side of him. But I think now being back at Fulham United, head coaching role, he will win the league with him at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if he manages to get that side. If he does get him in form in time, they could be fighting for maybe top 3, top 2 spot as well this year as well. But Playford's got some good signings as we know, so I think they're going to do well this year. I think it's Penendez, one of the biggest signings, and yeah, so
and that player from the Welsh Premier League.
Yeah, look, following on from that, Johnny, with Fulham, I'm with you there. I think they're going to be young, but they've got some experience. I've seen Godley obviously is playing. I didn't expect him to play, but he's playing from all accounts. I tell you what, having him at the back just to help a back four or back five, depending on the formation they play, is just massive. The experience he brings, he might not be the quickest anymore, but what he brings to a side is just at this level is unheard of. So I've got them playing finals, considering they were near the bottom. I think they were bottom 3 last year. I think they finished 3rd from the bottom. I've got them finishing in the top 5 this year. I've got them, I think, in 5th.
David.
I'll have a go. Yeah, I'll have a go. So, well, I've written I'll start lying because I don't think I think they're going to have to do a bit of rebuilding before they get back up into the NPL. But I agree with the West Adelaide vote. I think that club should be up in the Premier League, the NPL, and I've got them to finish in the top 2. And the other one I've got is Playford. I did have Cobras and Cumberland written down, but I've opted for Playford. But you watch Salisbury United. They'll make finals. There's my prediction. Now, they've just come up, but they absolutely blitzed State League 2 last year, and I reckon they'll make finals. Who knows? Maybe they'll end up promoted back to back. Is that a possibility?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Not an overly enthusiastic response to that, but yeah, I think Salisbury United can make top 6.
They've had some really good signings. They've got a great coach. So you can't, I mean, we've seen it many times, as Alessio pointed out last week, the amount of teams that come up, even into the NPL, they make finals that first year.
Yeah.
So
I've just got a good feeling about Salisbury United, and I mean I didn't see much of them last year, but yeah. So West Adelaide to finish, West Adelaide and Playford are the top 2, but I reckon Salisbury United in finals.
Big one. Where do we think Kilburn's going to end up by the end of the season?
it'll still be Kilburn, and they won't have an end date. I don't reckon they'll be playing out of there this year.
Well, there's big talk that they're going to be playing. Was it round 6? First game
Yeah.
back there, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. For football, I would love football to be played there. So
it'll be fantastic. But I just really struggle to see it at the moment.
Alessio, on to yours.
Well, mine's pretty similar. I had Cobras, Fulham, or Blue Eagles taking out the title. I think there's going to be a good combination between the striker Dante Cacciavellani and Ricardo da Silva as well. They've picked up a few other signings. Cooper Mullins from Olympic. They got some good fullbacks there, and Matthew Jones as well. And their midfield, Rafael Delicia. It's a big name at that club. I think they shouldn't be too far away. I think they might have just missed out on the last day of finals last season. But just those 2 imports for them would be massive. And we've seen how many times in the past they've gone up by having a couple of imports that took them to the next level. But as we talked about last week as well, Fulham, big win in their one of their last preseason games against Adelaide City. Young Henry Filsell as well, scoring a penalty winner against his former side, who gave him his chance in the first team. It's a good one. But yeah, Cobras as well made some big signings as well, signing the Bacala captain as well, Chris Ashwood. But otherwise, they were top side last year as well. David watched one of their games against Raiders, and you could see how both those teams were one of the best state league teams you could come up against. The other 3 I had making finals was Bacala. They just always seem to be in the top 6 no matter what, whichever year they're in a state league, they seem somehow happen to make it. But we see some of their signings as well. Chris Christophilos, you have Charlie Devereaux there as well, Adam D'Agostino, some massive names that have played a lot of NPL football in the past, and I think that would just make him at least into the top 6. Adelaide Victory, they had quite a good season last year. I think they ended one of the rounds on top of the league, which is a massive achievement for a young club like them. Kept many of their names as well, signed a few youngsters, signed some players who got relegated with other teams from Port Adelaide Pirates. But I think they were a bit stiff to miss out on one of the last days of the season as well for the top 6 last year. I reckon they'll make it this year. And then Playford as well was the other team I had in the top 6. They've obviously made some big signings. It's a tough place to go as well. That park, the grass pitch is always a difficult place for people to get results. I've seen a lot of cup upsets happen at that pitch as well. So I think, that's my top 6 and my 3 to make finals. So
a few different ones in there. That's it. Relegated. Basically, I think basically any messages to Western Strikers and Vipers is play this segment in the change room before the game for any sort of motivation, I reckon.
I'm just going to duck in quickly. I've actually said West Adelaide won't finish in the top 2, unlike most of you guys. New coach who's just come in 2 weeks before the season. That can really disrupt the side. I don't know what to expect of Brooks. So it'll be interesting to see how he settles in and gets the team playing. But I've gone for Playford and Sturt. And the reason I've gone for Sturt is that they've managed to sign Brian Elliott from Seaford. And I just think if they get the goals, if he gets the goals he did last year, that really helps a side like that. Cobras are going to be up there. And I know you said Berkala, Alessio are going to be in those finals. I've got them out of the finals this year. I just concerned with the losing Ashwood. They have picked up a few. I think Costamantis has actually signed there as well. So yes, they've made some big signings, but I just don't know how they're going to settle in that league. As you're saying about victory, like I look at it and go, right, it's such a close league. I mean, Cumberland, who finished 5th last year, 34 points, 6th, 34 points, 7th, 32, and 8th, 31 points. So it's so close when you look at it. Like those 4 teams fighting for 2 spots, I think this year is just going to be the same. It's just be a blanket over about 4 or 5 teams in those areas. I think it's going to be really tight again. So, but before we do that, has anyone got goal scorers, top goal scorers for SL1? I know SL2 is going to be a little bit harder, but Seb, top goal scorer. What do you think?
Menendez.
Oh, I've gone with Menendez and Brian Elliott. They're the 2 that I've gone for.
I didn't get the memo about listing goal scorers.
It's just something I just thought of, and I was like, this could be interesting. But here's the other thing, actually, is something that Alessio raised with Blue Eagles, is that they've got Dante scored a bag full of goals last year. He's a top striker, but with the silver feeding him, and the thing is with the silver, wherever he goes, he gets teams promoted. Wherever he goes, he seems to be the just the promotion king. So
the silver lining to the for squad.
Yeah. So Dante could be another one that could be at the very top of the goal scoring pile, but very close, I think.
The only thing is maybe Ricardo Silva will take him off penalties, so it might get him down a few pegs. So, I think the Dante would be a big one. Maybe even one of the youngsters from Fulham, Borghetto. He's been scoring quite a few in pre-season. I'm not sure how much that would translate, but he scored quite a few last year as well. I remember seeing in the goals wrap. So if they play well, then he's always on the end of it. Then you never know.